Currently, everyone is getting all jazzed up and super bullish about crypto, especially after seeing a golden cross on the Bitcoin chart. But if we zoom out even more and look at a longer term time frame, such as the weekly chart, we are going to see the first ever death cross in the history of Bitcoin since 2009. And typically, when we look at a longer time frame signal, it is way more impactful than a short-term signal. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Is this long-term sell signal on Bitcoin gonna be real? Are we gonna head to 10K, or are we about to pop and break loose all the way up to 30K? Let's look into it. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We got a lot of stuff to discuss today. Most importantly, what's going on with Bitcoin and where are we going from here? Are we going to 30K or are we going to 10K? That's what we got to look at. We have some conflicting signals that are happening right now that we're going to take a look at. First and foremost, guys, a lot of people are talking about how the bullish move right here that triggered at about 19.7 actually on the SMA and EMA here for the 200-day and 50-day moving averages, which we call a golden cross, which is typically looked at as a very bullish signal. As well, if you look at the weekly chart, the Trendex indicator also broke out above on the weekly chart here at about 19,000. And typically, if we look at Trendex over the history of Bitcoin, it's made some big moves to the upside and has basically been a rule of thumb of when should you be bullish and when should you be bearish. As we saw in the first run, as long as the weekly chart was above the Trendex indicator, you could be pretty confident in buying the dip, looking for long setups, and continually trading on the long side for an extended period of time. But once it flipped, that was the signal that we're going to see it continued downside, not until it finally broke out above again after that long extended move, followed by an over 100% rip to the upside. After that, we were flat for quite some time until the Trendex again did the exact same thing, which could be the rule of thumb of when should you be bullish and when should you be bearish based on your positioning. And again, right here, guys, we broke it above 19,100. That was an indication short term that it is a bullish time to start buying the dip and actually looking for long positions. And as of right now, it is currently held in place. And then on the daily chart, we also saw the bullish golden cross of the 200-day moving average with the 50-day moving average breaking out to the upside. If we look at the weekly chart here, guys, and actually look at the 200-day moving average and the 50-day moving average, this is the first ever in the history of Bitcoin what we call a death cross. And this is a pretty significantly bearish signal right here, especially it's the first time that it's ever happened in the history of Bitcoin. Does that mean that we're for certainly going lower? No, technical indicators are only viewed as a thing that could potentially happen. It doesn't indicate anything. If technical indicators actually worked like that, it would be way too easy to trade and everybody would make money. Technical indicators are basically just a probability. Like, okay, here's another thing to add to the probability of a certain situation happening. Now that we've seen that weekly chart death cross, that creates a higher probability of it going down. It doesn't mean that it's going to go down. It's just a signal that influences the probability of a certain situation happening. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. So on the weekly chart, we do see that bearish indication, and we also have some bearish signals on the actual daily chart here as well. For instance, there is massive divergences going on the FlipX and the MomoX. Now, you're probably wondering what the fuck's FlipX, MomoX? Well, guess what? It's not available to the public, but that'll be ending soon shortly. I'll be releasing all my indicators such as Trendex, FlipX, and MomoX, which help me a lot in making my trading decisions just to give me more of a higher probability for a certain situation happening. It doesn't give me a buy or sell signal. It just basically validates my thoughts and analysis going forward. So right now, we have this massive divergence here on Bitcoin. Basically, if we look at FlipX right here, this move on FlipX is like the highest FlipX has been since 2017. So Bitcoin after this run has been extremely overbought, which typically means in a extreme overbought area, that means there's going to be a sell-off. But even more so than that is creating a divergence, which means that the price of the asset goes higher, but the actual indicator goes lower. So as you can see here, we have this massive divergence. Huge highs on FlipX in this price range right here, got down all the way down here to oversold, created a buy signal right around here, which then rallied this thing to the upside. Now we have another new high here, but we don't have new highs on FlipX. And that's what we call a divergence, and basically just an indication that things are running out of momentum and running out of steam, and it could be the beginning of the end for whatever rally that we're looking at for whatever asset. We can also look at the momentum here on the Momo X. We do have a bearish divergence happening right now, right? We see the super highs into the red territory on Momo X when we were down here. Now we have this massive divergence here as well on the Momo X with the lower high here now, but we have higher highs again on Bitcoin. And we also have big volume here and then lower volume here on this breakout that's happening right now. This is just an indication that less buying pressure is coming in as we go higher, which basically means that we're running out of new buyers to come in to continually push the market higher. And that's just a sign of the potential rally coming to an end that we're seeing right now. In addition to that, we are continually failing to break out over this level right here at about 25,250. Anytime that we've gone up there, if we look at the intraday chart, we continually start selling off majorly, right? We saw that spike here that happened last night for me while I was snoozing. Spike to the upside, massive sell-off. Spike to the upside, massive sell-off. And now we're seeing that breakout to the downside. But if we look at the 15-minute chart, we can see we have this massive run up to the upside, but we're now oversold on FlipX, and we're also retesting the midpoint on MomoX, which leads me to believe that this could just be a rally before we see a continuation to the downside. This doesn't mean that this is going to happen, right? These are just indicators that help me validate that potential of the probability of that happening. And validate this situation, we need to break out above these highs from that one big sell-off candle that happens right here. And if we do break out above 25,221 here on Bitcoin, I think that's a pretty bullish signal, and shorts are going to get squeezed like a motherfucker to the upside. There's probably going to be a bunch of retail idiots that come in and start buying as well. And we could potentially go back up to the next resistance level between about 28,000 as well as high as 32,389, those previous levels, which is also these levels right in this range for the 2021 lows from that pullback. If we break out above this level, this is essentially kind of like a cup and handle that's forming up here. We could definitely squeeze to the upside, and that would be the trigger that would probably send Bitcoin upwards of 30K, of which also would be a big psychological level to get to. So that is definitely a probability that could happen. I'm not short or long Bitcoin at the moment. I would be more so predominantly looking at a short. But if we broke out to the upside of this level right here and then failed and saw a huge dump and then a close back down below, that is again going to be a bull trap in play. And that would be an area where I would definitely be like, okay, it's time to short Bitcoin. We had that opportunity to break out above this level. It failed. We're now closing. A lot of sellers came in, and that's probably going to be a catalyst to push us down to the downside, because most time, guys, the biggest moves that occur after a breakout or a breakdown failed to the downside. And that's what we call a bull trap or a bear trap. And that's my favorite pattern to play, just because there is that slingshot in the opposite direction of everyone who bought up there. Everyone gets so excited about the breakout. Oh, here we are, new highs. We're going to the fucking moon. Wrong. Slap to the downside, and that creates a big cascade of selling and a big cascade of fear across the markets, and it can also create a cascade of hope when it turns out at that on a bottom instead of a top as well, and create a panic FOMO buy-in, and that's what we call a big rally to the upside or a short squeeze, because everyone who is shorting when the breakdown happens now has to cover their positions or gets liquidated because they're shorting on leverage, and then that's what creates a move like this to the upside where we see that big run up to the top. Brief interruption here, guys. Did you know that 75% of traders have accounts under $25,000? This creates a huge problem, because even if you double that account in a year, which is almost impossible, you're still only making $25,000. Introducing Hydra funding, where you can potentially get access up to $500,000 in capital. All you have to do, guys, is sign up for a challenge account, which is going to give you potentially access up to $500,000. And if you earn a 10% profit in this demo account without going into a 5% loss overall or a 4% loss in a day, you will then pass their evaluation phase and, yes, get access to an account with the selected size account. And now, instead of trying to double a $10,000 account, you could potentially earn only 10% on a $100,000 account to earn the same level of profits. And the benefits of this are huge. Rather than risking your entire $10,000 on one account, you can use just $1,000 to potentially get access to $100,000 in capital. You can trade crypto, forex, stocks, CFTs, gold, oil, everything under the sun, all on MT4 and MT5. If you're interested, if you have an account under $25,000, like 75% of traders out there, you're not going to make any money with that account because it's too small. Get access to pro level funding and pro level capital with Hydra funding. Link's going to be below. Now, if we look at Ethereum, guys, I am currently short Ethereum at the moment. We did see a potential breakout above this level right here that then created a bull trap after that. But after that big candle that sold off here, right, we did see that push to the upside, but on lower volume than the actual selling day. So we'll see what's going to happen. This is actually very low volume. You can see the volume candles after that failed breakdown or failed bull trap, basically in a bull flag right now, but the volume is extremely low. So there's not a lot of buying pressure here. And again, we do have the massive divergences that are forming up here on the FlipX and the bearish divergence that are forming up on the MomoX, We have lower volume as we push higher. Does that mean it's the end? No, it doesn't. It just creates a higher probability that the end is nearing, and we could see a potential pullback off this now resistance level back down to the next support level, which would be about this ascending trend line here, that about 1250 to 1200 would be kind of my longer term big target. But as you can see, this is kind of my game plan right now. If we close above this level at about 1750, that would be my trigger to stop out, potentially even go long for the push to 2000. If it starts pulling back here, I'm going to be locking in gains this entire time because I don't fucking trust crypto and I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that it could potentially pull back. I would never just be like, okay, I'm going to short here and I'm not going to cover unless it goes down here. I will cover probably 10 different positions, 10% at a time, the entire way down, ensuring that even if it's just a short-term pullback, I'm at least making some money in case that it pulls back and then breaks out to the upside and then I make nothing. Because how many times have you been in a position where you're in profits in the beginning of the trade, but you didn't take anything off the table and then it goes into a losing trade and you make nothing? That's why I trade in a grid. So I'm always locking in gains. I actually have an app coming out that's going to help you do this, trade like that through our Hydra funding program, and an app that you can actually use on MT4 and MT5 to help you trade in a grid and always ensure that you're locking in gains. So that's the current situation on Ethereum. I am short right now at about 1680 to 1670. Overall, it's looking pretty good right now, and I think we have more downside on Ethereum, but we can't close above this high here at about 1740, 1742. Otherwise, I think that's going to be the potential catalyst to push to the upside to 2000. But again, there is also the potential where we break out above this level, get a rip to the upside, and then if it closes back down below that level, that's going to be another bull trap in play, and I would consider getting re-short on that position if I did get stopped out here for the actual move, the slingshot to the downside. Once that creates that opposing failure to the upside, the opposite move is going to be a slingshot in the other direction and create a lot of fear and panic and sell off from there, because once we break out that level, everyone gets all super hyped up. New highs, we're going to the fucking moon, which is possible, but if it doesn't do that and pulls back, that's a bull trap, and that creates a big sell signal to the downside. So that's the current situation on crypto. But I'm also short NASDAQ. I'm short S&P 500. I'm short US30. And the NASDAQ broke down below this ascending wedge. And if we break down below Trendex on the daily chart, I definitely think we have more downside, potentially retesting these lows down here at about 10,500. And a breakdown below that, we could easily come back down and retest 10K for sure, was going to be a huge psychological level where we could probably be a bounce zone. If we broke down this level, basically came back down, retested this 10K, this would be a big buy signal for me, at least for a short-term trade. Create a bear trap down here, BT, buy that dip for another rip to the upside before we saw another continued downside move. So I would definitely be a buyer of NASDAQ if we broke down below these lows and then created a bear trap down here. I think that would be a very sexy and attractive buying opportunity for a short-term trade. I'm also short S&P 500, of which we continually fail to break out above this level at about 4150 or so. But as of right now, we continually try to break it. We just can't. There is a bull flag that's in play right now, right here, right? We're bull flagging, potentially can retest this support right here, and then potentially break it out again to the upside and then push us back up to this high here. As of right now, I'm short on S&P 500 in this range. If we did break out above this level right here in this bull trap, that would be a potential position for me to exit this position, stop out, and then reevaluate once we're up here for a potential short. But as of right now, I am still short. I think we could potentially break down this level and retest these levels down here, the lows between about 3630 and 3487. That's kind of the game plan for me. If we look at the US30, guys, it's now consolidating this triangle pattern, of which it's anybody's guess as of right now, but I'm currently short. We're still consolidating, and the further we push into this nose, that's a consolidation pattern that's either going to break to the upside and just rip to the upside, or break down to the downside and create a huge panic sell-off, probably back down to these lows right here initially at about 32.5, and then potentially all the way down to these lows here at about 28.6. Currently short all these S&P, NASDAQ, US30 as of right now. Also, I believe I'm still long the US dollar. 2 positions open on the US dollar as of right now. We got in at the lows here on this, basically same thing that I was talking about before, guys, looking for these opposing moves. As soon as we broke down these lows, I said, guys, we got to buy this dip here if we break down below these lows. Bought the dip, created a bear trap here, then that opposing move to the upside. I already locked in gains here. I'm looking to lock in the rest of my gains up here, or if we stop out, if it continues to move to the downside. Now, opposite of this, the dollar moves inverse of gold, so I shorted gold also near the top, of which I believe I am fully out of gold at the moment. Yep, you can see I shorted here, but I did stop out. I was short, stopped out right here. And again, the opposing move. This is the same opposing move that we saw on the US dollar as it broke down to the downside and then ripped to the upside. We saw that last push to the upside on gold, faked everyone out, boom, slammed to the downside. I got short right here, short, 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 short. And then every time that we got a new low here, I just continued to get out of my position in a grid. Again, I have an app coming out that'll actually help you do this automated so that you don't have to manage all these trades at the same time, because it creates a very difficult and tedious process when you do this manually, and I fucking hate it. And then sometimes I don't do it at all, and I give up a lot of my gains because I'm not actually doing it. I'm also short Meta at the moment. Shorted Meta at the top here, currently up about 2,200, but again, I've locked in profits the entire way down. Short, I actually shorted here, stopped out here, shorted again on the top, covered, 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 covered. I'm already out for profits on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different exits on this. And again, app I'm creating, it'll help you get out between 1 to 10 positions at a time in a grid so that you don't have to worry about it every step of the way. You're going to be locking in gains just in case it only goes down a little bit and then rips up to your stop level and you make nothing. So it's much better to always be locking in gains on every trade, because for the most part, a lot of us traders first initially go into a profit. Everything's looking good. We start getting greedy. We don't like lock in any profits off the table, and then it goes into a losing position, and then we count that as a losing trade. Whereas if you're locking in gains every step of the way, the positions that do eventually go against you, you can at least lock in gains and then stop out for break even on the rest of the position and still walk away with a little bit of a profit as opposed to a loss on a bunch of your trades. So this will increase your win rate dramatically from, you know, a 50% winning trader to a 60 to 80% winning trader, because you're always going to be locking in gains on every trade that goes into a position of profits first before going against you into a losing position. So I'm super excited about getting this out to you guys as well. So that's the current situation, guys, in the markets. We'll see what happens. What do you think about in the comments? I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts and kind of get the sentiment on the market. You know, if we do break out above this on Bitcoin, 22,250, that's a long for me, up to 28 to 32.3. But if we don't, if we fail to hold above this level, I think we're going to continue to push lower, and we're going to potentially see new lows. The weekly chart does have the death cross on here. First ever in Bitcoin's history, and FlipX is now overbought on the weekly chart here, guys. FlipX is overbought on the weekly. That is a scary position to be buying Bitcoin. So watch out if you're getting long up here. You have to be prepared for the worst case scenario in trade probability. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Are you going long or going short at 25K? See you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.